welcome to Power to the Flower. I'm Kara, and today we're going to be talking about pruning and training climbing roses after the first year. So last year I bought a bunch of bare root roses from David Austin, which is a grower from England that I planted last spring. They've had one season and now it's time to prune them. So we have Strawberry Hill Climber here, which needs to be trained against the fence, and Lady of Shalott, which needs to be trained to the obelisk. I thought, what better way to kind of share with you what happens when you get your David Austin rose and then it doesn't look exactly perfect, and what happens when you deal with it. So David Austin thankfully sends you some information, and they have tons of videos on their website as well as on Instagram that I have been watching. I have been reading their blogs, and I feel like I have a good understanding of what I'm supposed to do. But now I'm here at my rose, and so I'm just gonna do it with you so you can see like what the regular person runs into and does. One good thing I will say about rose care. So I'm not an expert rose care person. I have a bunch of roses along the front of my house in the back there. They were at this home when we moved in about 3 years ago, and because we're gonna change up the front yard eventually, I've kind of treated them like weeds, like I don't really care about them, but I've just tried things. I've hacked them all the way back. I've hacked parts of them. I fertilize them. I don't. And I just see what happens. And what I found is that roses are incredibly hardy, and it's very hard to kill them. They bloom every single year, whether I try or not. And so it's given me a lot of confidence with the ones that I'm now planting, and feel like a little feeling about that no matter what I do, it's gonna work out okay. That said, let's follow the David Austin way. So when you get a bare root rose, it literally looks like sticks. I have a video about planting bare root roses that you can access up here in the card, or I put a link in the description below. And that was kind of my first experience with bare root roses, and I just shared with you how you plant it and what that looks like, and I will never go back. It was so easy to do. You have to dig such a small hole, and the roses started like sticks and ended with beautiful flowers on them. So that's definitely the way forward. David Austin sends this lovely little handbook that gives all the information that one needs. So in their book, they have rose care by region listed out, and we fall in the Southwest and Southern California. So if you flip over to that section, then it tells you exactly what we're supposed to be doing and when. So January, February, spring pruning. It is January 9th, so I'm gonna be starting with my spring pruning today. Then it says first feed and mulch in February or March as growth starts. So that really just depends on your area and what the weather's like. So we're gonna have to just keep an eye on when we wanna give some fertilizer. If we flip to the back, there's a whole little section on growing, climbing, and rambling roses. Now this is a climber, not a rambler. For climbers, pruning helps the roses to thrive by creating good structure and encouraging new growth, resulting in lots of blooms. For climbers, David Austin is telling us that we need to tie them in because they need structure, and training allows us to direct the growth of the rose. I have an obelisk here. I think this is a 4-foot obelisk, and so a rose can grow 8 to 10 feet. After one season, this is how tall it got, not quite up to the full height of the obelisk. The thing is, when I watch the videos, there's lots of climbing rose videos for on a wall, but I couldn't find any for on an obelisk. So this is a bit of a hope it all works right, but it sounds pretty easy. The main thing we need to do for the climber is to cut back lightly by a few inches and tie the shoots in. Remove all of the leaves to get rid of all of last year's diseases and pests, and cut back the previous season's flowering shoots to about 2 to 4 inches from the main stem. Now this, I think, is the key. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at all of these shoots that are coming off the main stem, and I'm gonna cut them to 2 to 4 inches long. So what we need is gloves and pruners. Let's do it. So 2 to 4 inches is like here. This single one is the main stem. So all of these ones that are coming out the side are the shoots. This one looks like a sucker. We're gonna read about that in a minute. Let's see, this one was the main stem. It kind of made a new main stem. One of these has to be the main. I'm gonna make this one the side. This one's the side. I'm not worrying about where I cut the rose. That's what the videos told me. They just said cut. Don't worry about the angle, just cut. So if this is the main stem that's continuing on, this would also be a side shoot. This one is coming, and then it also says look out for weak branches that won't be able to hold roses. So I'm gonna call this one the main, then I'm gonna cut it off right here. And then I'm gonna leave this side shoot, this little guy, and take its leaves off. So then this is the main stem and it's coming, and then this would be a side shoot. And I'm gonna stop that. I'm gonna take that one off and gonna tie that one in. Let's go to the other side. All right, so all of this growth down here, these are petunias that I'm going to also cut back because their undergrowth isn't very good, and I really want them to be fresh for the new season. So I'm gonna cut that as well. And then also I am going to clean up all the leaves. I think that these are suckers. This and maybe this, I'm not sure. Let's have a look at the leaves and see if we can discern. So this is the one that I think might be a sucker. Here's the leaves. Here's regular. Does that look any different to you? This is why I'm doing this, because it's not so obvious, is it? It's definitely coming up from the root stock. This one's dead. That needs to come off. It looks red. The thorns are red. Can you see that? The thorns are red, whereas the thorns on the regular one are brown. You know what I mean? These are brown. Brown thorns. So what I'm gonna do is cut it off. I'm just gonna cut it off at the base, and I'm gonna call it a sucker. So here's the dead one. And then here's what I think is a sucker. This one also looks dead. If we looked at what we just pruned off, this is the dead bit. See how that's dead wood? Also definitely dead. So I think we did good there. Now let's take a step back and look at our work. This one also looks very weak, whereas these other ones look very strong. So I think I'm gonna cut that one off as well. Then if we follow the main stem, so you see how it V's? I've decided that becomes a main stem. This one, maybe, I think you're supposed to just have one main stem. But I'm gonna leave these two, and I'm just gonna cut the side shoots down to 2 inches. That's my plan. Cut the side shoots down 2 inches, 2 inches, cut this one off, the weak one, and cut this one off, calling it a sucker. So let's do that now. Then with whatever's left, I will tie it in. That's my plan. Okay, this one's the sucker. It's coming out. Ooh. Side shoot, 2 inches, 2 inches. Also coming out. And then the rest are side shoots, so 2 to 4 inches. Not worrying so much about the cuts and more just cutting them. This one is a side shoot. I'm just pruning back this verbena in the same way, just cut, 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 not worrying about what it looks like, just cutting it. And this is the other petunia. Watch out for the water. I'm gonna just cut all this off. And then when it's ready, when the warmth comes, it will be ready to make its comeback. All right, and then this one, side shoot, trimming it off because it looks so weak. And I'm just gonna cut the ends of these both off, and then maybe tie this one in, and tie that one in, and tie that one in. and call it a day. Let me go get my ties. And this one, it's kind of stabilized right there with that. So over here, so I mean, I think that's it. Honestly, I think that's the job. Let's have a closer look. So the key is that we have no leaves with none of last year's disease, and then we've left all these side shoots off of the main stem. So this is where it's like, I don't know, there's 3 stems now with side shoots. If you have any comments about this, I would love to hear. Overall though, I'm confident it will bloom, which is the point. So this is what it's gonna look like at the end of our session. Remove leaves. And then we just leave it to sit here until next month or when we start getting growth, which maybe we are getting growth. Do you see there's little buds coming? Little teeny tiny red buds. Just need to keep an eye here and see what happens with the weather. All right, so we have a few more of these to do. Let's go do them. Sun pulls it towards the street, so I'm trying to straighten it. Can you see that, what I've done? So I put a tie there to pull the whole stem to the center. So I think that's what it's going to look like. I'm just going to pick up these leaves and then we'll be moving on to the next one. Okay, and so this is our last rose, which is also in a pot. Perhaps you remember this space from the season, the summer season. This was also a bare root climbing rose called, it was Strawberry Hill Climber. And this is a much bigger climber than the Lady of Shalott. And I did the trimming of this one a couple months back because it was kind of all over the place. I did it in the same way, except that all of the blooms were on the tips of each stem. So what I ended up, you can actually, here, I'll bring the camera in so you can have a look, but you can actually see there's only a few side stems, and they were all quite small and weak. So I actually trimmed all of the side shoots off. I did watch some other pruning and rose training videos from some other YouTubers, and they talked a lot about the horizontal growth being very important. So as you can see on a wall, that's very important. So what I've done is I've taken the main stems and I've tried to bend them and train them so that they're gonna go to the sides. And when that happens, something about the horizontalness and the gravity causes more shoots to pull up going this way. So basically what I think I've done is started the rows over. At least that's what I'm hoping. And so then hopefully we'll have blooms along the entire line. Again, I will be updating you, but that is the theory that I think I've learned and that I'm trying out here. And actually, if you come close, you can see that it's kind of working. For instance, so what I've done is I took the main stems, I chopped some off because they were coming out this direction, and I want to keep them against the wall and fill this whole fence. And so here we go. So we're following along here. There isn't any new growth yet, except for there is one right there, and there is one right there, and there is one right there. And so this is kind of where it's horizontal, do you see? So then we have this. I could have left that one. I probably should have. But, oh, good news. There's some new little shoots growing off. Can you see that? And there's some new little shoots growing off of this one that I chopped, the side stem. So we follow it, we follow it along. And look at all these little red buds coming. 1, 2, 3, 4 on the horizontal bit. Here's another one. There's some new buds. 1, 2, 3. So each of these little places should be where there's going to be blooms. There's one there, there, there. This is making me think maybe I should fertilize. Oh look, I left this one. I left this one, but it looks like it broke. Maybe I'll just chop that end off. That's about it. That looks pretty clean. And I was gonna just cut this 2 to 4 inches. So see, I still have, that's probably 2 inches. So that's cleaned it up. That brings us to the end of this video, how to prune your first season's roses, both climbing and shrub roses. I had Royal Doll shrub roses, Strawberry Hill Climber, and Lady of Shalott Climber on a obelisk today. You can subscribe here and follow along and see how these roses do over this coming season. You can also find me on Instagram and Facebook during the week. See you in the next one. Bye.